What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 203. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on this episode and this channel where all we do is talk and discuss movies. I hope you all are having a great day so far. It's been a great week for the Timeless Movie Podcast channel. This is our second episode that we've been able to drop. Movies are back. Am I right? I mean, I don't know why I'm expecting an answer back, but we've consistently gotten various weekends where multiple movies are coming out, which makes it fun for me to try to catch up and watch as much as I can. I hope you guys have been at least enjoying the movies and enjoying these podcast episodes. And if you haven't already, episode 202 of the Timeless Movie Podcast is available on places like YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and check it out. I went solo and talked all about the new action movie called The Furious. This one was directed by Kenji Tanigaki, and I'm going to say it. I said it on the podcast. I'm going to say it again. The Furious is the best action movie of 2026 so far. Nothing comes close to it. Now, that's my opinion. If you've seen The Furious, well, go ahead and check out episode 202. Go to the comments, drop in your thoughts, your review, and answer the question. Is The Furious a timeless movie? I would love to hear your thoughts. You know what I would also love is if you guys would leave some reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate it. I want to really grow this channel and engage with more folks. So do me the huge favor, drop in some reviews, share the podcast with other people that love movies. That way we can build an awesome community talking all about movies like the one that we're talking about today, as well as the upcoming ones for the rest of 2026. Also, if you want to reach out to me directly, the email is open, timelessmoviepod@gmail.com. That is where you can reach out to me. Let me know feedback. Let me know any recent movies that you've seen and things that you would want me to bring up on the Timeless Movie Podcast. All right, let's go ahead now and dive into this week's new movie in which we are talking about the return of Toy Story. That's right, we're talking about Pixar's new film, Toy Story 5. Okay. Little bit of background before we get into a little bit of the non-spoiler section. What is my connection to this franchise? I can say that the first three films, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, they're special movies. I mean, from the first one, getting into this world and this universe and really falling in love with the toys like Woody and like Buzz. And then as the movies progress, just getting to know more and more of the toys. And then when it got to the third part, the true ending of Toy Story, I was in tears, man, because you really grew up with these toys and with these characters. And when you see Andy give them off to the next generation and Bonnie, it's just emotional because you think about your own connection to toys that you had before. And so to me, Toy Story 1 through 3, they're just special, man. A lot of people consider them masterpieces. They're timeless movies. They're definitely timeless to me as well. And so it's very hard to really consider my thoughts and my expectations when we have new entries to a series that I think ended really well in Toy Story 3. We had Toy Story 4 come out a couple of years ago. Now we have Toy Story 5. And it puts me in a very interesting spot because I feel like there's a little bit of tension. I already feel like I got enough of this franchise, and yet Disney and Pixar continue to bring it back. Is it for money? Is it to sell stuff? That's the unfortunate part because there's always that aspect to it when you have a franchise. But again, to me, I don't think we needed any more entries after Toy Story 3. That didn't stop me, though, from watching Toy Story 5. We got to check it out on opening night. So let's go ahead now and segue over to the non-spoiler section. That way I can tell you a little bit more about my thoughts, a little bit about the director, the actors, and giving you an overall sense as to what I felt after leaving the theater. All right, Toy Story 5 is directed by Andrew Stanton. So Andrew Stanton actually has worked with Pixar before. He's made various films, some that you may have heard of as well. He's made A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, WALL-E, and Finding Dory. Now, in this film, Andrew Stanton comes back, but he also has the help of some of the voice actors that have also come back in this Toy Story franchise. We have people like Tom Hanks, Joan Cusack, and Tim Allen. And we have newcomers. We have Greta Lee, we have Conan O'Brien, we have Craig Robinson, and Shelby Rabara. Now, in Toy Story 5, what the heck happens? This is non-spoiler. So let me give you a little bit of a summary of what goes down in this movie. We are brought back into the world of Toy Story, and we have Bonnie. Bonnie is obviously the new child that has taken over all of Andy's former toys. She plays with them. She sets up scenarios. She uses her imagination. But then all of a sudden, something happens. Bonnie ends up getting a lily pad, the new technology, the new toy, technically, that a lot of kids are playing with. And so this puts Jessie, who is now the leader of all the toys that Bonnie has, this puts Jessie and the team in a very interesting position. They have to try to find a way to get Bonnie's attention back on the toys while also helping her try to connect and make friends in her life. So, a lot of things going on in regards to what Jessie and the team has to do. But now that we got to check out the movie, what did I think overall about Toy Story 5? Well, I thought this movie was really good. I enjoyed it. And I'm a little surprised because, like I mentioned a little bit before, not that I came in with these expectations that were extremely low. I just, I just have this feeling towards this franchise. I feel like it should have been over already. We don't need any more movies. And so if you are going to come out with another entry into this franchise, what is the purpose of it? What are you trying to say? What is the intent? A lot of movies sometimes have that answer and they end up delivering. Other times, movies don't really have a response to what is this for? Is this just a cash grab? Is this just to sell stuff? I can say that Toy Story 5 actually has intent. It has purpose. It has themes that are very relatable to kids and what they're going through today, what we may have gone through in regards to our lives as we grew up and we let go of things that we loved. It has a lot of different types of elements, and I think it's represented in a really cool way, or maybe not cool, but it's represented in a way that you can understand and it's relatable as an audience member. Now, another reason why I had a little bit of this tension is because, to me, in my opinion, Toy Story 4 didn't really have a true intent. Like, why did we need to make Toy Story 4? Now, it did have a theme. It had the theme of, Woody trying to find a new purpose. But I didn't feel like that was sufficient enough of a reason to bring this franchise back, to bring the characters back. At least in Toy Story 5, with the theme of technology, with the theme of making connections and things that we end up going through as kids, I feel like Toy Story 5 should have actually been what Toy Story 4 was. It should have been that entry because it feels like there's actually something to talk about and to say. So I enjoyed my time watching Toy Story 5. It was a fun time. You know what's also fun? Talking about some pros that I really enjoyed, expanding on my thoughts. So why don't we go ahead and jump over to the pros section? That way I can talk a little bit more about what worked for me in this film. All right, first pro that I got for Toy Story 5 is going to be the animation. Now, I'm pretty sure if you're listening, you're thinking, well, Victor, the entire movie's animated. They've been doing this for 5 different films. How could that be your favorite pro? Well, let me explain. It's not just the photorealistic animation. I actually have a specific example of what my favorite animation style is in Toy Story 5. This actually only happens a couple of scenes. I'm not going to spoil where this happens, but in the movie, there are a couple of moments where the animation goes away from photorealism. It doesn't look like the typical Pixar. It actually just looks like sort of like hand drawings or, sort of like if a kid was drawing and trying to explain to an adult or to anybody what they were playing with their toys. It felt like a different style for Pixar altogether, and I loved it. I thought that was really cool. I really am curious if the animators that developed those scenes, if they had more fun doing that than the typical animation that they already do for these Pixar films. Because again, it sets this different type of a feeling for the characters. We've already seen these Toy Story characters for 5 different films, but seeing them animated in a different way, it kind of, I don't know, it sets this really cool environment where, I haven't seen these toys play in this kind of an environment. I haven't seen these backgrounds or these colors that are exaggerated or just kind of creating these unique elements for some of the Toy Story characters. I thought was just really clever. So again, it doesn't happen too much. I'm not saying that this happens throughout the entire film. It only happens, I want to say, in about 3 to 4 scenes in Toy Story 5. But when those scenes come up and when that animation style starts kicking in, I really dug it. And this is more of a thing that I'm experiencing the older I get. I remember when I was younger, Pixar was the animation style. That was the top tier. That was the bar. And as I've gotten more into watching movies, and especially with this channel, I've actually gravitated more towards movies that were animated not perfectly, not photorealistic. I've actually liked more movies that animated it in a different type of style, not perfect. Like I'll give you an example, like The Wild Robot, or you had films like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Into the Spider-Verse. They're trying different ways to animate these types of feature films, and to me, it's going in a great direction. I love more of this. And maybe to me, Pixar has kind of felt the same. The style is always the same, no matter what type of universe you jump into. So that's going to be my first pro, is just Pixar, and in Toy Story specifically, getting into a different type of animation style, trying to open things up and not have it to keep it consistent to the franchise. Again, it only happens a couple times, but I really enjoyed it. All right, second pro that I have for Toy Story 5 is I really liked that the main protagonist was not Woody, was not Buzz, it's Jessie. Jessie's actually the main character, and we're seeing the story really unfold because of what she's going through. And so that's really cool. I think it's a fun adventure to go on just because, again, we go back and we have to compare to the other films. We've seen Woody and Buzz be the central parts of these stories for 4 of the last films. So I think it's good that we try to switch it up. Give it a other character, another toy, their perspective, and see what they go through. And so if you know by seeing some of the other films, I mean, Jessie had a lot of her backstory told in Toy Story 2, and it kind of gets brought back in this film. You get to see her get challenged with what she went through when she had her first child that played with her, which is named Emily. And you get to see how she has to get challenged by technology and how she has to face that and find a way to still have Bonnie play with all the toys. So there's just aspects that I really enjoy that they went down this route of, again, not having it just be another story about Woody or Buzz and what their challenges are. Rather, I like that they shed more light on Jessie as well. So that was really cool stuff. Again, we'll expand a little bit more in the spoilers, but wanted to at least call that out as my second pro. All right, third and final pro for Toy Story 5 is going to be that I think that this film nailed the way that how kids get bullied. They highlight this aspect throughout the film, but I thought it was just done so well because I felt like I could relate to it. I won't really delve into exactly what happens and to who, but the way that they were able to incorporate this, maybe it doesn't work for everybody that watched this movie, but for me, they totally nailed it. They nailed the feeling of look what happens when we bully kids and how they end up dropping things, how they end up forgetting about the things that they loved, or how they end up taking on new hobbies or new things that they normally never liked before. And so that whole aspect of what we as kids are like when we start growing up and we start trying to be a part of different things, and what happens when people make fun of us, that whole aspect I thought that was really a genius idea to include in this, and I thought they executed it really well. That's, again, my opinion. Maybe I'm in the minority on that, but definitely if you disagree or agree, let me know down below in the comments. All right, let's go into the cons. This should be quick. I don't really have a major con, any nitpick that really stood out to me. The only thing was, maybe there could have been a certain area that was very convenient for some of the toys in the third act. Something happening where they needed to go from point A to point B, and they just all of a sudden had a way to do that. And it was, it just felt very convenient for some of this to happen. Again, but it never was egregious. The scene never really took me out. It's just a small little thing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was easy for the characters. But other than that, no other things that really called out to me that I didn't enjoy about this movie. Overall, I had a great time with Toy Story 5. All right, I'm going to move up a segment that I usually save for later, but this segment is, should you check out Toy Story 5 in theaters? Now, take this for what you will, but I mentioned it before and I'll say it again. I feel like after Toy Story 3, there should have been no more Toy Story films. The trilogy was perfect. It ended on a great point. No need to add more. But since that really wasn't something that Disney and Pixar wanted to do, they continue to make more movies. So my opinion is going to be, I think you should check out Toy Story 5. Even though I do have the trilogy in such a special place on my list and in my heart, I still think people will enjoy Toy Story 5 because of the themes, because of what they're trying to represent for kids nowadays and how hard it is to make friends or deal with technology. Those types of aspects, I think, are really relatable. So adults will be able to enjoy it. Kids will be able to enjoy it because of the animation and the jokes that are thrown in there. It is a funny movie. I think Toy Story has consistently been one of those Pixar films that has always had those types of comedic relief characters, and they nail it in this one as well. But that's my recommendation. Go check this one out in theaters. All right, everybody. Now that we got through all of that, now it's time to jump into some spoilers. Let's start talking about things that happened in Toy Story 5. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, if you don't want this movie ruined for you, please do me a favor. Jump out of the podcast, watch the movie I just recommended. You check it out in theaters. And once you do, come back to the channel, listen to the second half of this podcast, and then drop in some comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree with some of my takes of this film. All right, hopefully that's enough for you guys as a break. Let's jump into some spoilers. Let me jump into the aspect that I thought this movie nailed. Again, I talked a little bit about why I think when you are making another sequel or you're making another entry to a franchise, to me, the most important thing is intent and the purpose. Why are you making this movie now? Is there a particular reason that you could represent in your film? And it makes me then, or convinces me that, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I think to me, Toy Story 5 landed it with the themes of technology, but also of making connections, making friends. That was really the central theme of this movie, in my opinion. What we get is essentially Bonnie gets a lily pad. She now has a taste of technology. What does this have her do? Well, now she's distracted. She plays less with her toys. And I initially thought that they were going to do something where it was going to be toys versus technology. It kind of sets that up in the trailer as well. But the film actually doesn't want to tackle that topic. It knows that you can't prove that, oh, yeah, you know what? Toys are way better than technology, even though it's a fact. But trying to show that in a movie, I don't think would really land. And so instead, what they try to tackle is, hey, we can't get rid of technology, but technology can still be used to an advantage. It can be used to help with making connections and having kids use their creativity, use their imagination to still play with both toys and technology in a way that makes sense. And so that's essentially what this movie tries to highlight. It shows that, hey, yes, we have technology here. We have iPads. We have all these different types of things that might take a lot of our kids' times, but that doesn't mean that we should stop them from, having the connections with friends, having them still explore their creativity, have them be able to imagine these scenarios, imagine all of these different types of elements, and just play with the things that they like. And also to understand their interest as well, to not give those up. Now, in this movie, there's a couple of scenes where I think they really highlighted how dangerous a lot of these things can be, and specifically how technology plays a part in that, but also just how we are as like humans sometimes too. These scenes are specifically in regards to Bonnie, and so what happens in these moments is Bonnie is, again, trying to make friends. She's trying to get to know more of the people around her neighborhood, and she still plays with her toys. But there's a couple scenes that put this in jeopardy. And again, this is where I think the team that developed Toy Story 5, I think they nailed it. They highlighted in such a good way how other kids can bully and change other kids' opinions about things that they love. Bonnie ends up trying to make friends with a couple of kids across the street. She is nervous, she's shy. She goes over and she has Jessie in her hand. She hides behind Jessie, and as the kids come up to her, she waves Jessie's hand and just says, "Hello." And the kids just kind of laugh and they go away. And this kind of makes Bonnie start having a little bit of seed of doubt. She starts questioning, well, hey, these kids aren't playing with any toys and I'm still playing with toys, but okay. Then there's another scene where you finally get to see the interaction between the lily pad and Bonnie, and that takes up all of her time. But through the lily pad, there's a way to connect with other kids as well. And so Bonnie ends up making friends with a couple of kids that are also on the lily pad system or online system. And essentially, what ends up happening is Bonnie ends up being able to join in on a sleepover that her friends are going to be having. She ends up going, she's excited, she brings Jessie and Bullseye. And what ends up happening? As soon as the kids see the toys, they kind of question Bonnie. Oh, you brought toys? And I'm like, why'd you bring toys? And Bonnie ends up leaving the toys in the car and basically says, oh, I think my dad packed them for me. Immediately drops the toys. Again, that is a super relatable scene. That is something that I think all of us have gone through in some way or shape in our life when we try to fit in. Again, this is the human nature part of it that I think the team really nailed. All of us in some part of our life has tried to conform or to be a part of something, and we end up giving up things. As a kid, when you find out that maybe some other kids laugh at you for liking something, you immediately feel discouraged, embarrassed, and so you drop it. And so Bonnie's reaction is real. She notices that, hey, if I want to be part of this friend group and this group of kids that want to just have fun on their lily pads, I gotta not have my toys with me. And so she gives those up. And then eventually those toys, Jessie and Bullseye, because they get left and they get lost, they end up getting picked up and they get taken to the original house that Jessie came from. Now, why did this happen? Well, it's because Jessie on her boot actually has the address of her former child that actually had Jessie as a toy. Her name was Emily. And obviously this has been many years, but this brought so many memories to Jessie and obviously the pain of when Emily forgot about her. And through this, though, this brought up a good moment for Jessie. Jessie, you actually see her interact with this new child named Blaze. She lives in the former home of her old child owner, Emily. And essentially, Blaze is very much like Bonnie. She is very creative. She loves horses. She still plays with toys as well, but she's also dipping her toe into technology. And so Jessie gets a taste of, okay, well, there's another kid that maybe I can connect with Bonnie. I can have them be friends, and that way they can both continue to play with toys. But also, not only does Bonnie face a couple of challenges, but also Jessie. Jessie then also has to work with toys that are using technology in some way. She resists. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to work with anything that has technology. She wants it old school, and she has to face her own challenges throughout her arc as well. And this ends up leading to a very emotional scene, probably to me, the most emotional scene of the movie, in which there is a moment where Blaze is going to actually return the toys to Bonnie. There is a whole plan set up where the toys are lost. Bonnie doesn't know where Bullseye or Jessie are. And so she ends up getting a note from the lily pad that, hey, I found your toys. I'm happy to give them to you. So Bonnie, taken by her mom, goes over to Blaze's house. And right when Blaze is about to give the toys back, you end up finding out that through the lily pad, some of Bonnie's friends or supposed friends know that she's trying to look for lost toys, and they start cyberbullying her, essentially laughing at her and saying, oh, you still play with toys? Like, why would you want to still play with those toys? Why would you want to find those lost toys? And then they start laughing at her. There's laugh emojis. That was another scene where I think the team just really executed that so well, because that happens every single day. I'm pretty sure it happens to kids, it happens to adults. Whenever you're on social media, no matter where you are, people get made fun of. People get ridiculed for what you like. And what ends up happening to Bonnie? Bonnie does the most sensible thing when you're a kid. You get laughed at, you get ridiculed, you get joked about because of what you love. You immediately then reject that idea and you're saying, you know what? I don't play with toys anymore. And that's what Bonnie said. Bonnie said she didn't want to play with toys anymore, and she gave them up. And so that was brutal just to see because you feel for Bonnie. Bonnie is every one of us. We've been in that same situation where we try to conform just to be cool and try to join a group, and we forget about the things that we love as we grow up. And that's what Bonnie was going through. And you as an audience member, you're like, no, don't do it. And then it also sucked for Jessie. Jessie got rejected again. She's going through her own traumas of like, hey, I'm in the same house where Emily forgot about me. Now Bonnie's forgetting about me. So it was those emotional aspects that to me, that's what really delivered it through this whole experience. That's what made me really take this movie very seriously in that, okay, yeah, they actually had a reason to try to come up with this new idea and this new concept. And so what is the final or the wrap up of this whole thing? What ends up happening? Well, Jessie again has to go through her own challenges. She unfortunately has to work with technology. She starts working with this character named Smarty Pants, who, it's a very, very simple technology, but Smarty Pants was voiced by Conan O'Brien, and he had some funny lines as well. But Jessie had to essentially work through her own challenges of resisting technology. She knows she can't get rid of it, so she starts working with some of the technology. She even is able to turn around Lilypad. They were rivals, essentially, Lilypad and Jessie. And eventually they had to work together in order to bring back Blaze, bring back Bonnie, one more connection, just to show that these two individuals, they actually like similar things. They might be ridiculed, but they both love playing. They both love using their imagination. And so they're able to set up this plan where Jessie, Lilypad set up that connection. This time Blaze comes over to Bonnie's house. And as soon as they are able to connect, this is where Jessie's plan comes to fruition. She's able to show that, hey, here's Blaze. Here is somebody that is just like Bonnie. And if they become friends, then that's where the toys will continue to be played with. And now there's an actual true connection to friendship that Bonnie has. No more does she have to look at other people and just wish that she had a friendship. Now she actually has a true friend. And so that's exactly what happens at the end of the movie. You get to see how Blaze, she has her own kind of accents that she starts making up, making Bonnie laugh. Bonnie tries to make her own accent, and then they both get excited and they both play with the toys that they love. And so they start imagining, making up these scenarios. And that was just a really cool way to, again, wrap it all up. Even though she got bullied, even though she initially wanted to give up on those toys, knowing that there's somebody else like you, knowing that there's somebody else that relates to your interest, just like in real life. We're never alone in what we're feeling. There's always somebody out there that might like the exact same music, the exact same movie, the exact same things that you like. And obviously it might take some time, but Bonnie was able to find that other person. She found Blaze, and it was all because of the toys like Jessie as well as Lilypad helping to bring them together. And so I know I'm rambling a lot, but that's essentially the entire kind of theme and interpretation that I have of this movie is that, yes, there is a lot of technology. Yes, kids aren't playing as much, but if we are able to use these in a really cool and proper way, kids can still use their imagination to play with both. Kids are still able to connect, not over an online or some type of a chat, no, but connect in person as well to share their common interests, to share their imagination and their creativity. So I really dug that. That's really what convinced me to kind of really enjoy this movie and not give it a hard time because, again, I still feel like the first three are incredible. I don't think they needed to do any more, but overall, I left the theater just feeling really good about how this movie was trying to highlight that, yes, although there is a lot of technology, there are still ways for kids to be creative and build connections with friends as well. Now, notice I haven't really talked a lot about Woody and Buzz. That's because they were more side characters. Again, this is Jessie's story. She had to go through different types of trials to find ways to make Bonnie feel comfortable in her skin. And again, also facing technology and being able to accept that, hey, technology, although I don't like it, I think it'll still be used in a good way, and we just have to adapt. Now, for Woody and Buzz, they were more just, working on their own kind of storylines. Woody's an independent toy. He just came back in order to help Jessie with Bonnie and trying to get her attention away from the lily pad. And then Buzz, the entire movie, was just focused on trying to propose to Jessie. The entire film, he's trying to come up with the right words to say. What the heck is he going to tell her? And then eventually when that moment happens, Jessie already knew a long time ago. She's like, you know what, Buzz, you're always going to be my deputy, because Jessie is now the sheriff. She is the leader of all the toys as well. So they had their funny moments. They had a lot of great comedic lines that they said. I think that's pretty much it. I think the only other thing I was going to mention is that there was another scene, or really multiple scenes, where they have a lot of Buzz Lightyear toys come out again. We've seen this various different times in the franchise. This one was funny though, because this was like a shipping container that got lost at sea, and there was all these different types of Buzz Lightyears. The big difference though is that these are high-tech Buzz Lightyear toys. So they now are infused with technology. They're basically drones because they can fly, and so really crazy stuff. But yeah, that was one of the other funny moments that I saw in this movie. But yeah, that's all of the thoughts that I had about Toy Story 5. Before we wrap it up, though, we got to answer the most important question of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Is Toy Story 5 a timeless movie? Now, I've been talking all good things about this movie. Even though I said that I feel like Toy Story 1 through 3 is enough, I don't need to see 4 and 5. Do I think this movie is timeless? I've said nothing but great things. But as of today, I'm going to say that Toy Story 5 is not a timeless movie. And I think, honestly, it's because of the fact that I have such a connection to the first 3 films. I don't think Toy Story 4 or 5 are coming close to those 3 movies. Those 3 films just had so many great and relatable items. Toy Story 5 did as well, but I just feel like those, maybe it's the nostalgia, maybe it's the fact that I feel like the trilogy was a perfect wrap up to the story and I don't need any more. But again, maybe my opinion will change. Maybe if I watch Toy Story 5 in the future, a couple years go by, maybe it'll relate even more, especially as more technology gets involved in our lives as well. But I mean, again, I still recommend it. I would still want people to check this one out because I think it does have something to say in regards to technology and how kids make connections nowadays. But to me, if you were to ask me, okay, which film would you want to see, or just on its own, do you think Toy Story 5 is something that you would want to own? No, I think I would still choose the first 3 films. But that's my opinion. I want to hear from all of you listening. If you have seen Toy Story 5, let me know down below. Drop in your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with the theme and what they tried to introduce as a concept in this film? And more importantly, did you think Toy Story 5 was timeless? All right, everybody. Appreciate you all listening to my full rambling thoughts about Toy Story 5. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 203 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out our next episode as we cover a new film. We give you our thoughts, our opinions, and then we decide, is it timeless? All right, everybody. Appreciate you all listening. Have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you all later.